Hello everybody and welcome back to Hardcore Heroes. Sorry about the long break. DM prep is hard.
All right. While Frank is doing the ritual, I'm going to cast both Detect Evil and Detect Spirits.
Ooh.
They both last longer than his casting time by a good amount. They're like 5+ turns each.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So, which spell do you cast first?
Let's start with Detect Spirits. I already know that there's going to be evil all around.
This divination reveals the presence of disembodied or non-corporeal spirits of all types, including wraiths, ghosts, spectrals, astrally projected creatures, characters or monsters employing magic jar or possession, and of course, animal spirits and spirits of nature. You detect no spirits.
Yep, but it lasts, and that's a big thing. Is that I want it to last. It's gonna last 9 turns, so it's gonna be over an hour.
Yeah.
And I wanna keep an eye and make sure that he never has like any sort of possession starting to take root in him during the spell cast.
Very clever.
And then I cast Detect Evil as well because I want to make sure that the evil from the creature is not seeping into Frank.
Correct, and it does not seep into Frank. It stays on the fleshy ground.
Perfect. That one's gonna be 5 turns, which is still plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep an eye on him during the process.
Okay. Lucia and Belle seem, I don't want to say nervous, but on guard and alert. They've got weapons drawn. Lucia's got her shield out, and they're sort of standing guard on either side of you and Frank, scanning the horizons, not really paying attention to what he's doing so much as keeping an eye on the things around you.
Yep.
Frank has 20 minutes in which he needs to cast his spell, or that it takes to cast his spell. So let's do, I need...
Once he starts... Ooh, I should have done this earlier. Yeah, as soon as he starts, once I get my 2 spells off, I'm going to start casting Ethereal Barrier.
Ethereal Barrier, okay.
In case we get ambushed here. I was thinking I could save it for tonight, but no. I want to... Because he's going to take 2 full turns. It's going to take me 1 turn to cast it. Mm-hmm. But if during the latter half we get ambushed, I want to be able to hopefully thin out some numbers.
Okay.
It basically stops any sort of like ethereal or spiritual creature from coming through. So any of those spirits that used to possess us won't be able to get in, but the physical demons will have no issue.
Perfect. You cast Detect Spirits, Detect Evil. Both of those come back clean. You cast Ethereal Barrier.
And it's 2 10-foot squares per level. So I just kind of like drop a nice wide area around us. That kind of like borders right up against the fleshy mass.
Right, so 2 10-foot squares per level. You're level 8, so you can get 16 10-foot squares.
Yeah, so I give us like a nice wide berth, I guess. I try to make it as much of a square as I can.
Okay. So like all like a full box around you in the flesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, bordering up against the flesh, just trying to encompass the group in case we have to make a defensive stand.
But it's still all 4 sides, right? You're not like leaving an entryway?
No.
Okay.
I don't want an entryway.
Okay, perfect. And about, maybe another 5 minutes pass when you can see appearing sort of on the next hilltop, which is not really a sand dune anymore, it's just like this mountainy wall of flesh that rises, are a pair of monsters. A pair of demonic-looking, sword-wielding, empty wing-having monsters. I think I have a picture for you if I can find it. Yes. How do I turn this into a handout? If I do it that. I will save that and show to everyone. Something that looks like this. They sort of have wings, but there's nothing in between the wings. And there's these large black plates that rise out of it all over the place at awkward angles. Almost like a hedgehog, except they're thicker and, variable length. And in its hands, it wields a 2-handed blade made out of obsidian.
Okay.
These yellow beaming eyes, clawed feet.
I assume it radiates evil.
If it's within range of your spell, it definitely does. I'm not sure if it is, but
Okay.
you can. It radiates evil without the spell casting. You could just feel the evil coming off this thing.
It's pretty obvious. Well, I put protection from evil on Frank, so hopefully it goes for us instead. Is my hope there.
Okay.
Seeing that, I look to those and say, defend Frank. He needs to finish his spell. Then we're going to make a break for it as soon as he's ready.
The two creatures stand there for a little while until a third joins, and a fourth, and a fifth. And then rising up behind them, sort of floating in midair, is this tall and very thin creature covered in a hardened, iridescent black chitin exoskeleton with these let's see, each of the joints, like the elbows and the knees, have like tall similar black plates coming off of them, but like longer and taller and wider, so like big plates coming off of all the joints that end in sharp points. There is a single eye that sits in the middle of its forehead with no nose or mouth or anything else. It's just like the shape of a head with a single eye in it. And you can see on the palms of its hands are other eyes as well. The creature seems to be sitting in midair with its feet crossed, and in the place of where its abdomen would be on its tall, distended stomach is actually just a gaping mouth with sharp teeth. Both hands are held out on either side so it can look forward with them, as well as with its main central eye. And it hovers behind these creatures at the top of the hill. And slowly joining them at the base of these creatures are these hairless, skinless, emaciated dog-like creatures with discolored, bony plates protruding from joints and a jaw that unhinges. Spikes run down their backs from head, down spine, all the way to their tails. And yet they still have no hair or fur or skin. And this configuration of monsters watches what you are doing from the top of a hill.
Okay.
Let's call it like 150 yards away.
I'm happy to have them watch because it's pretty close to 20 minutes. I'm just waiting for Frank's spell to end.
Mm-hmm. Frank finishes his spell, comes out of his trance, doesn't even seem to notice the things up there, and immediately grabs a dagger from his side and starts cutting at the ground, which oozes this like yellowish ichor.
Okay.
Before taking a sample and shoving it in a jar.
Okay, I say, Frank, get ready, and I start to rub my hands together. I'm going to rapport with him, and as soon as I have that rapport linked, I'm going to tell the rest to run, and we're going to book it.
Okay. Rapport casting time is only one round. Excellent.
Yeah.
So you get what Frank knows.
He can communicate with me, and the idea is that he'll be able to do it very quickly while we run, and he won't have to say anything out loud.
Right. So you guys turn and bolt.
Yeah.
And flee on horseback as quickly as you can go, hopefully hurting Chester and what's the barrel's name?
Oh, that's a great point.
Maybe a good point for another
What's a good pun there? Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah. Hurting Chester and the barrel along the way. And Frank will rapport with you. The ravenous cannibal born in the land where dragons cannot fly. This person's heart was fickle and more, yearning for what they most deplore.
Can you say that line again?
This person's heart was fickle and more, yearning for what they most deplore.
Okay.
The colony ever grows, feeding on hands and toes. It commands and devours, but beware its magical powers. And that is the result of the spell.
Okay.
As you guys bolt, the creatures seem
break for it.
Content not to chase you.
Perfect.
And you guys can flee southward. You have unfailing endurance to the party?
Yes, because I can do a creature per level, so I get the horses and the group.
Perfect. Then with that in tow, you can make it to the hills just after nightfall.
All right, perfect. We'll set up a camp tonight and keep watches. I think I'll relate the whole poem to the rest of the party. See if any of them can think on it.
Lucia and Belle have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't either. So it's one of those, just keep a mind on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing what can pop into your head at a moment's notice.
They will definitely think on it.
Whoa, I have a bunch of scrolls. When did that happen?
Right. You push into the hills around Hillsboro, the Rock Ridge, as it's called.
Yeah, I think we're gonna go probably like nice and deep into the hills, and once we find a nice secluded spot, that's where we can camp out.
Okay. No, that's not available. All right, you do find yourself a nice secluded space in the hills where you can camp out. The night passes uneventfully, although in the morning you do see a very large bird of prey soaring in the air above, gliding on the warming, what do you call the columns of heat that rise off the ground? Thermals.
Looks like a rock.
Looks like a rock.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from that then. We're in a secluded area. I assume that it would have trouble like maneuvering down here because there's probably like enough like high rising things that it can't freely fly down into the hills, right?
Perhaps. It doesn't look like it's coming for you. It looks like it's just cruising as birds do on the thermals in the morning.
Not gonna take a chance though. We'll keep low and not move if we don't have like clear bits of cover to hide from the rock. And we'll just wait for it to go do its thing. I'm not in any rush.
Okay. All right. You guys can continue your journey to Hillsboro then. And it is a short hop, jump, and a skip there. Maybe 10 miles to get you there.
All right. As we're getting close, I say, so I might maybe possibly not be particularly welcome in Hillsboro. So let's keep my name light on lips while we're here. And maybe think that you're just with me by circumstance as travelers, so that if I have to make a break for it, you don't get dragged into my mess. It was a bit of a misunderstanding, but it happened in Redport. I don't know if word would have traveled all the way to Hillsboro.
There's an exchange of uncomfortable glances before Belle speaks up and says, Mr. Van Helsing, if there is something I should know, well, I hope you would tell me.
A friend of mine was ambushed by ruffians on the street of Redport, and the scuffle, one thing led to another. Somebody very stupid set his web on fire, and some people might have died in the process. It was a bit of a chaotic mess. I wasn't involved in it myself, but everything kind of got a bit out of hand very fast, and I had to flee the town.
She and Lucia exchange glances that's read to you like, this is some sordid past that I wasn't aware of. And Frank is oblivious to anything going on, looking at this jar with this flesh in it, carefully observing it.
While we were reported, did he have anything else to share about like the experience of casting the spell? Were there any like weird sensations or anything that came along with the contact with it or anything like that?
No weird sensations. Maybe just like a little bit of jubilant joy slipping in accidentally through the rapport where he's just like, oh my god, this is a 6th level spell and I got to cast it and this thing is definitely from another world, or that's what it seems, like the land where dragons cannot fly. Right. Oh my god, where is that place? That sort of excitement.
So with that in mind... and I didn't notice, like, he had not been possessed and no evil had seeped into him from that whole experience of the... Okay, perfect.
Not that you were able to detect.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great. You make it to Redport, to Hillsboro. There are nice big walls there, guarded by dwarves with crossbows on the top and humans with halberds on the bottom. They see you guys coming. The halberds set against the wall facing you. The dwarves with crossbows aim them in your direction, and a clear voice calls out from a human saying, "All right, there's close enough, well-armed party. What's your business?"
We were investigating the mass emanating from heat stroke. It's a long...
You too, huh?
Oh, have there been others?
Yep.
Are any of them around still? Could we talk to them about it? I'm looking to gain any information I can about it.
The guards wave you a bit closer, seeming to appreciate what you have to say, and say, "Well, some other folks came through last month or something. Same story. Haven't seen them in a while. At least they haven't come out this way while I was on duty. And, we sent some folks that way last year. Never saw them again."
It's growing rather steadily. It's further than I expected it to be. It's most of the way to the hills of Hillsboro at this point. It's covered most of heatstroke, or covered most of the desert itself.
Well, not my problem.
Tell me, are there any powerful wizards or clerics in Hillsboro?
We got a wizard or two and a handful of clerics, certainly.
One of well repute. I'd like to meet with them. We cast a very powerful magic on that fleshy mass, and I'd like to share the knowledge we gained.
I'm sure His Highness would be more than happy to accept an audience with you. Welcome to the Great Kingdom. He looks to his buddy. What are we calling this kingdom now? The guy's like, "I don't know. Is it Wait Kingdom, Hill Kingdom, Clyde Kingdom?" There've been a lot of names. And the other guy goes, "Yeah, I know, but like, come on. We got visitors. What do we call? What's the kingdom?" The guy's, "Oh, look. Welcome to the new kingdom in the west, east. Welcome to the kingdom of the east."
Thank you.
They wave you guys
Perhaps
on.
not an audience. We're looking to move quick. Are there still ships sailing out of Hillsboro?
Yeah. Of course.
Where do they travel to?
Oh, all around. We are the greatest trading kingdom in all of Arcadia.
I see. Do any still travel to anywhere in Eridon?
In the former kingdom of Eridon? Certainly.
Yes.
Certainly, Weatherlight and Milfaldur, Keldram, hell, even to Blue Cliff and High Castle. Although that's about all there is left.
It's true. What about Drekis? I need to spread this word. So I think I'm going to have some travels to do in the near future.
Yeah.
Also, is there... Do you know where the brass dragon of the desert stays? I may need to pay him a visit.
Well, that's a question of some confusion these days.
Oh?
Yeah.
Have circumstances changed?
You know, there's supposed to be Sky is the brass dragon, right? But ain't no one seen him in a spell. So you make of that of what you will. I don't know if it's dragon mating season or if he's just fucked off and gone home.
I see.
Or if he buried in the ground.
Do you have any sort of library in Hillsboro? And does it have a depiction of the dragon? Anything I can use to learn more about this dragon could help me in locating it.
The one guy kind of fumbles and doesn't really want to answer your question. The other guy goes, "Well, actually, there's a small group of fanatic dragon worshippers that live on the east side of town. They're a little bit nuts, but they know they collect and gather information on all the Arcadian dragons, and really, they're a little bit nuts. I don't think you might want to show up wearing what you're wearing," he says, pointing to the dragon scale armor on the party.
Perhaps I'll go alone. I'd prefer not to deal with fanatics, but if it gives me an opportunity to locate Sky, that might be for the
They are
best.
fanatical.
Yes. I may need to skip the audience with the Lord of Hillsboro, but I will write a letter and send the information that we've gathered. Is there a temple or a larger temple in town?
They nod. Yeah.
All right.
You can find it. You know, they give you directions to the main temple.
All right. Perfect. I'll find like a reasonable inn and set up my my companions there and explain. I'm going to go to the temple. And see if I can set up a quick base of operations there. And then I'm going to go talk to these fanatics. I ask if Frank wants to come with. And I say, Belle, I suppose you could come, but you probably don't want to wear that armor. I don't know if you want to go without your equipment.
I would go to act as your bodyguard, but I believe you are probably more than well equipped to deal with a couple of fanatical dragon worshippers. They tend to be big on ideals and low on abilities.
Very well. I can handle that on my own.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I'll set them up in an inn, and then I'll head to a temple.
Okay. You can make your way to the temple. It is run by Mother Meera of Seor, priestess of Seor, who you would probably... Would you know this from your days living around here? Maybe not, but you can find it out fairly quickly just by asking around town. She is a human, sort of older, maybe like 70 years by now. 5'5", 143 pounds, so, you know, reasonably sized, maybe a little plump at her age. And you can find her outside the temple, sweeping the steps and giving smiles and waves and blessings to people as they walk on in.
Okay. I walk in and say, "Greetings.
Sayer's blessing. How can I help you?"
I have some rather urgent information regarding the flesh growing out of heatstroke.
Oh.
I have words of the abomination, spoken in riddle, but known to be true. Perhaps you could help puzzle them out here, and I'll repeat the poem to her verbatim.
Her face darkens as you read this, and she hands her broom off to a nearby acolyte and says, "Here, finish the steps," and motions you back into the inner sanctum of the temple, retreating from the sounds and noises of the city. Right. Inside, you can hear the monastics doing the chants and prayers and songs sort of in the distance as footsteps echo throughout the halls. She brings you back to her private quarters in the far back right corner of the temple, sits you down, pours you a glass of lemonade, and asks you to, tell her what you have learned.
One thing is, are there names? Like, you mentioned that there were other worlds, right? Like, there's the world that was made for dragons, then dragons turned out to be too uppity, so the gods were like, okay, whatever. And then they moved on to the other one. Is there a name for that world that was abandoned because everyone there was like a wretch?
If there was a name, the gods keep it to themselves. Maybe a dragon knows, but certainly no mortal that I'm aware of.
Perhaps we should give it one, because if I'm not mistaken, this poem is referencing that. That was the impression I got, unless you have another theory?
No. That sounds... You say this was about the
mass, the flesh growing out of heat stroke. I assume the structure in the center, as well as this growing mass, are one and the same.
She nods. I have been concerned about this for some time. I have petitioned Baron Deephill to investigate this further. When it first appeared, we sent out a small crusade of knights and wizards and clerics to go investigate it. Only a few stragglers ever returned, but they were too far gone, and they had nothing to share before they passed.
I see.
After then, I don't think any concerted effort has been made by his lordship to deal with it.
I have a feeling that this will become a danger that threatens all the people of this land before long. But everyone's too busy squabbling and fighting their wars to band together and rid the world of this threat.
She nods in agreement. I share your feelings identically.
There's another reason I've come. Do you know of the Dragon Sky?
Certainly.
Is there any... I have need to speak with this dragon. I have a feeling he may know more. But I know the dragon went missing recently. I have magic that may be able to locate him, but anything that you can offer that would help me become more familiar with it would help the spell have a greater chance of success.
She cocks her head to the side and asks what spell you are intending to cast?
Reflecting Pool.
Pool. What do you
It's under the
need?
Scrying rules under Crystal Ball, so you'll probably want that.
Would a possession that once belonged to the dragon be of use to you?
Let me double
Or
check.
a bit of his body?
A bit of his body sounds a lot more useful. Let me find... I don't know why I'm suddenly struggling to find... Here we go, magical items. Nope, that's not it.
She goes into a chest and pulls out a brass dragon scale necklace. It's made of like really small scales, maybe like from around the ear or something. And it's just a series of brass scales that come around and form like a V that would hang at just below the collar.
Oh, you've saved me from having to go speak to those fanatics.
Oh, yes, don't those... No.
I'm trying to find the rules for the crystal ball, but I'm struggling here. It's under treasure tables? No? Magical item. Oh, here we go. Magical item descriptions. Maybe under miscellaneous list. Crystal ball. Personally known, slightly informed of on another plane. Garment in possession does help. Yes, because it's better than slightly informed of.
Perfect.
Oh no, part of in possession is even better. Okay, perfect. I thank her for it, and I ask if she can help out. I need like a basin that I can put clean water into, and ask if she can set up facilities for me to cast it.
She has a basin here in the room that she uses to wash her face with. She'll wash it out and pour a pitcher of nearby water into it.
All right. I guess how this works is I probably like put a scale inside of the basin since it's part of in possession.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to attempt to cast Reflecting Pool here.
Okay.
I technically didn't take it today, but the difference would be like me resting up tonight and doing it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you arrive late at night and you rest here in the temple. I think we can be a little soft with time. If anything, we need to burn more time, so it's fine.
Sure. Yeah, we'll say that we stay a few days in Hillsboro, just kind of licking our grievances after seeing the weird eye in the cliff.
Right.
All right. I have to cast a Windborn to get rid of it, so at some point I accidentally slam my head into the ceiling of the temple.
All right.
Yeah, so I cast Reflecting Pool. It's a 50-50 chance since I have a part of him in possession. Yeah, I'd have to personally know him to get better. So roll D100. Hey! So I believe it fails if he's on another plane, but if he's still on the prime material plane, it should work. Let me check. Oh no, or into other planes of existence.
This is the crystal ball effect?
Yes. 30 minutes, one time per day is the max.
Crystal ball. Garment of possession.
It's part in possession.
Part of possession. Okay, perfect. And love viewing beyond these periods of time will force you to make saving throws, so you're not going to be doing that. So you can view for half an hour once a day.
Yeah. And it says it goes to other planes, apparently. Over virtually any distance or into other planes of existence.
Excellent. I'm going to... That's what I want to be looking at. Yeah, so this is what you see in the reflecting pool.
Just this this fleshy mass?
This mass of flesh with these, like, weird prisons of tusks or bones that sort of bulge out like nasty pimples.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're looking at this and coming to the... Oh, there's a person here? Is that intentional?
Oh, no, there's not supposed to be a person on the map. Where is it? Oh, that's a Van Helsing token.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not there.
I can't even control it, yeah. Interesting. All right. So I think we're coming to the conclusion pretty quickly then that this dragon was swallowed up. Does it center over any particular point, like over one of these weird tusk things?
Just kind of over this large stretch of fleshy mass that must be, 100, 150 feet or so across. It's sort of indistinct and not focused on any one part.
Okay. You probably see Van Helsing, like, curse under his breath and say, well, I suppose that leaves out asking Sky questions. Things grow grim.
She is watching over your shoulder during this part, and as you say that, goes, does that mean that Sky has been consumed by this flesh?
That's my guess. I scried Sky, which means that Sky is most certainly there.
Sky, as I understood, was over 1,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
If one had to give an age class to him, they would use a term like worm or venerable. He was an old dragon. Perhaps his time came and he died peacefully, and the flesh rolled over him, she says, not really believing the words she's saying, but hoping that maybe that sounds convincing and everything can be solved that way.
We could wish, but somehow I doubt it. I don't think the spell would work if Sky was dead, in fact.
So what is it then?
Sky's been imprisoned inside of that mass. I don't know what it's doing to him. That aura. Could I show you through magic?
Yeah, go for it.
I'll cast Rapport, and I'll show her like the overwhelming evil that emanates from the flesh firsthand. And I say, I don't know what would happen to a creature that became consumed by such an entity.
I have no idea.
Sky may be venerable, but I don't know if he could withstand even that.
May Seor equip us with the tools to defeat this monstrosity. What do you need? How may I assist you in what I can only expect will be a problem we all must fight one day?
I don't know what we can do besides ending the wars. We need people to stand together. At this point, I don't think a group of... I'm 4 men strong. I'll be 5 when my companion rejoins me, but powerful as we are, I can't expect us to sally into Heatstroke and end this menace. I think there's going to require cooperation between the nations of the world.
She chuckles. Right. I do believe Drekis and Mystria are at each other's throats.
Yes.
Although that war does appear to soon be over. At least that's what the sailors say. Those that head to Mystria come back with very little in their pockets. Some even have returned having been robbed by the kingdom there.
Yes, it was mostly an attempt at looting, and things have not been going well for Drekis lately. I think it overstepped its bounds in engaging in 2 wars.
Well, maybe the Akubans? Except, aren't they in the middle of a civil war?
I know very little of Akuba.
Their king was recently killed. I had heard. So, yes, murdered by an assassin while visiting in Mystria.
Interesting. Wonder if it has any connection to the. I start flashing over visions like the Malchus clerics and the slaughters that they caused.
Murder assassins killing nobles in the streets? That sounds quite similar. Perhaps it's one of those. She thinks there are 2 extra priests. We don't have any clerics of Malchus here in Hillsboro, but perhaps there's one in Clydesdale or Redsport. She calls for one of her assistants, a Father Boros of Astaire, and questions him about the clerics in Clydesdale and Redport and Rockwave. Let's see. What do they got in Redport? Do they have any clerics of Malchus there? There's a Father Kryn of Malchus in Redport. And we not have clerics for Clydesdale? No clerics of Malchus in Clydesdale. Yes, Father Kryn in Redport. He might be able to answer questions of whether this is Malchus's bidding or not, although I don't know if he would answer truthfully. You know, those clerics of Malchus, they always are. It's so hard to understand that when they're speaking truth and lies.
So say the Archbringers of Chaos.
Yes, I do believe Malchus instills his own clerics with a sense of trustworthiness and distrust. They never betray their intent. It makes them very difficult to read.
I doubt he'd want. Considering I killed all of those Malchus clerics, I don't think he'd want much to do with me if word ever reached him of that. Van's probably like looking at a map on the wall. It says, Heatstroke is rather isolated, isn't it?
Certainly. Difficult to get to.
Do you know how big that structure is? The source of this flesh that's growing out of it?
I don't know what structure of which you speak, but Heatstroke is known for its pyramid at the center. It's a ziggurat.
Wasn't there some new mass that was growing inside of Heatstroke? I assume that was.
It's probably like a small smile on Van's face, and he says, do you suppose whatever it is would die if we crashed something very heavy over the city itself? Perhaps a massive airship?
I have no idea. What would you crash and how would you do it? She says, intrigued.
A friend of mine reached the wizard airship. The one that flies above Arcadia not too long ago. I have no idea how we could co-opt it. But if we can't get the nations of the world to work together, I think we might have to go with the time-honored strategy of dropping something heavy on the problem and hoping it kills it.
I sincerely doubt that the ancient wizards who built that airship would be willing to crash it into anything.
That's
or
true.
anyone.
That's true. We'd have to find a way to not give them any choice in the matter. That
Perhaps
sounds dangerous.
perhaps Matava would be your next point of cooperation.
Oh?
They are at war with no one, trading with everyone, profiting off the war, have spent no resources, engaged with anyone for quite some time. They might not listen to you coming to them, but maybe to someone.
Where does that fall on the map?
Matava is this kingdom down here.
Okay.
It is, you would know that it is a matriarchal slave state that is brutally oppressive.
Right.
And they've got this like tiny, easily defendable position that they just trade with everyone from and sort of close their borders to the outside world and don't really get involved with anyone's politics other than to trade. You would know that all men here are born into slavery under their mothers. And are pressed into like all the physical labors and as like infantry in the army, and they at best wear like leather armor, and then the officers are, well equipped and well trained in plate and steel and brass, and are all female, and that foreign men coming through this area are not really.
That's what I was going to ask. Is like, okay, it's not a welcome thing. I say, well,
yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure who I could send in my stead for that, because I have a feeling if I walk into Matava, I won't be walking out again.
She nods with you. Yes, maybe. Well, if we want to unite the world, or at least Eridon, the dwarves in the north have created their own kingdom as well. She says.
I assume they're separate from the war then?
They, as I understand it, have their own problems.
Oh?
Yes. Some Cyclops have attacked Milfaldur, and dwarves have been waging war against the monsters of the hills, trying to reclaim it in their ancestral names. She ponders to herself over and over again. Maybe the far western kingdom in former Eridon? Blue Cliff Confluence, High Castle, and Meadstead have all formed a coalition or a confederacy of sorts under the former count in High Castle, who now counts himself king. I guess the longest shot of all would be the elves, but they don't do anything with anyone.
You can't trust
without
anyone.
100 years.
You can't trust anyone who lives that long.
Certainly. Well, Van Helsing, cleric of Cheese.
We are in a bit of a pickle, aren't we?
It may be up to the four of you to do this, after all.
Things were so much easier when there were, 5 kingdoms on the map? Well, this is a bit of a problem.
So, Sky is gone. Are there any other... There's the Mist Dragon, but I doubt it would know anything unless it's been disturbed.
Hydroxys? Yes, I have not seen that one in some time either.
Do you know anything about it? Is it receptive to visitors that can reach it?
I could reach it. That's not my concern. I'm more worried about it attempting to eat me when I do.
Hold on. She is a reclusive one, usually opting to avoid people rather than meet with them. I doubt she would eat you on sight unless you appeared by surprise in her lair. She's shy or doesn't like to interact with the world. Occasionally she will rescue drowning sailors, and occasionally she will sink ships. So...
Bit of a tempestuous relationship.
Perhaps.
It could do for an audience, though it's risky. But that Hydroxys is the closest dragon to this growth now that Sky's gone. There's a gold dragon in near Stromheim. I've spoken to them before, but...
Nixium, yes.
I doubt they'd be much help at this point. They're so far away. And as I understand it, they're advising the Queen of Eridon, so anything that Nixium would know, I probably would have learned with the audience I had recently. I suppose I may need to speak to Hydroxys after all.
She walks over to a cupboard, opens it, and pulls out 4 healing potions and heads over to you and hands them to you, saying, Sayor gives us the ability to create all things in this world, including potions of healing. I feel you will need these in your journey more than I will here. Please take these.
Thank you. I probably will. Well, this should be an interesting conversation with my companions. Thank you for your time. Also, do you have some pen and ink? Maybe we should write out that poem to send to the wizards here in Hillsboro. The more minds we have thinking on this riddle, the better.
she will produce pen and paper and let you write down whatever you need. And she promises, because she is on the Lord's Council, that she can get it to the wizards here in town. I think his name is Borean, or Boris, or Bormium, or something in that realm.
All right. Are there any other horrible things under the water of around Misty Valley? Wouldn't do to be eaten by a giant fish before I even reach Hydroxus.
Oh, just the usual sharks and eels, the occasional Sahagwin.
Sahagwin.
They keep mostly to themselves. The fish people here.
Have they ever? Those are intelligent creatures, right?
Yes, they attacked Redport en masse 3 or 4 years ago, allied with hill giants and hobgoblins. They were easily driven off, and no one has seen them since.
They're not. Are they hostile on sight? Are they relatively willing to communicate, to speak?
I think they tend to be more hostile. But as I said, no one has seen them since the failed siege of Redport.
Well, I guess it's speaking to the dragon. Thank you for your time.
She waves goodbye.
I return the brass necklace to her.
Aha. Good.
All right. I'm gonna head back to the inn.
All right, you guys are hanging out at the Journeyman's Rest House.
Yeah.
Is the name of the inn here.
Let's see here. And I will explain to them that I am probably going to have to go into the Misty Valley and walk under the sea and parlay with the dragon. Van himself probably sounds a little bit, well, therein is the problem. I only have enough to cast a particular spell twice, and it's not particularly long in its usage. I'm not sure if I can bring anyone else with me, but I might be able to bring Hydroxus to the shore, where she could speak to the rest of us. I've done that once before. Hopefully it works as well this time. I've heard Hydroxus is a little bit more unpredictable. I suppose if she wants to kill me, I won't have to be able to do much about it, but we need whatever information we can get.
So shall we meet you somewhere? Leave you to do this?
Let's head out, I guess, into the hills. Perhaps we could get a ship to drop us off somewhere off the coast around here. And then I could head into the Misty Valley. I need more specific information about exactly where the dragon's known to nest. Is it under the sea, or are they known to be like on the island?
No one knows where she lives. It's a mystery.
Interesting. Okay. I'll go around asking at the docks if anyone's willing to sail toward the Misty Valley.
Ooh. All right. Well, give me a charisma check, because this is something fishy and most people aren't going to be interested in. You're going to need to convince them.
Hey, do you want to go sailing toward this dragon? Excuse me, would you like to go meet a dragon?
Everyone's like, nope, Misty Valley, no one goes there. And then someone else is like, you mean the place near where all that creepy crawly flesh is? You know, I seen lights out around Heatstroke. I ain't going anywhere near that place. I don't go north anymore. I just head south.
All right. Yeah, I guess we'll go on foot. So nobody knows where the dragon is, huh?
Mm-hmm.
How far out is it to reach this? 4 miles? With unfailing endurance and free action, I could probably run along the seabed and make it to the Misty Valley in 4 miles.
Do you have free... Wait, how do you get free action?
It's a 4th level spell.
Ooh. That allows you to move in water as if it were normal air, right?
Yes.
Even under the influence of magic that impedes...
We've done this before. I free action to speak to Nixium the one time that we met. That one.
Underwater, individuals move at normal speed and inflict full damage, even with such cutting weapons as axes, swords, and with smashing weapons as hammers, flails, and maces, provided that the weapon is wielded in hand rather than hurled. Mm-hmm. You can't breathe under the water with it, but you can run underwater. If it's 4 miles...
Oh, I have water breathing as well.
There you go. People walk at 3.5 miles an hour, So you could easily get there in an hour.
Endurance. Yeah, with unfailing endurance, I could probably do it in half that time. Do it at a nice late yog.
Enhances the natural hardiness and stamina of the affected creatures by rendering them virtually immune to fatigue or exhaustion. So, how fast does an average person run a mile? Maybe like 8 minutes, 9 minutes, right?
Average
a person in
best
good
I've
shape.
done was 6 minutes. Van's pretty fit, so I would guess 7 minutes maybe to run a
7-minute mile. Okay, well, with unfailing endurance, I think you could just keep running 7-minute miles on top of each other. Maybe 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay.
So,
let's if we're gonna do that continuously, it's probably better to do like 8-minute miles then, because 6-minute mile was the best I've done, but that was a hard mile.
Right.
So 8 minutes. 8 minutes is probably more sustainable for Van.
Okay. So that's about half an hour to get there.
Okay. Yeah, because I figure like unfailing endurance mentions that you can exhaust yourself still, so I figure it's probably more like a jog than it is just like a dead sprint.
Right. Okay. So something like 8 minutes at like a steady jogging pace.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's something in here about like you can push yourself and you have like resistance to extreme bits of fatigue.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Up to 16 hours with moderate fatigue, yeah. So 12 hours no fatigue, 16 with moderate. So it has its limits. It's just like extreme endurance.
Sure. So if you just double your movement speed, which we're going to call jogging, you can do about a mile in just over 8 minutes, or just under 8 minutes. So that's perfect. So 8 times 4 is 32 minutes. That'll take you 32 minutes to run from shore to shore underwater. In plate mail.
I mean, I could also do water walking. I just don't know if Hydroxys is under. I'm going to ask around and say, do people know? Because Hydroxys is known to save sailors occasionally, right?
Yeah.
I ask around and say, is Hydroxys known to come from the air or from the sea? As in, does she seem to approach from under the water or above it?
She prefers to swim mostly, or on rainy or misty or foggy days. Hovering low or flying low above the waves. She particularly enjoys windy days with large waves where kind of mists get blown around. She does love the air-water combination is her favorite.
Okay. Interesting. How long does water walking last? Water walk. 1 turn plus 1 turn per level. Probably a little bit. Yeah, I'd have to have a bunch of spells ready for that if I wanted to take anyone with me. Like, we could jog across, but then we'd have to sleep there.
Yeah.
Maybe it's best if I go alone then.
Okay.
It sounds like, so she keeps low, but not necessarily from under the water. She tends to, like, coast on the surface a little bit, or, like, low above it.
Yeah, I mean, these are all sort of like hobbled together descriptions over a few days from various people. It's hard to get a solid depiction of what she would be doing. Everyone seems to have, one sailor that you talk to says, well, I saw her once, but she didn't breach the surface. Just at one point I could see a single spine come up. I thought it was a shark, and then I looked closer and it was too long to be a shark. And someone else says that they ran into her on a foggy day because her wing clipped their mast and broke the top of their mast off because she was flying so low to the water. And somebody else claims to have been rescued by her and just remembers being like dragged up onto shore and then seeing this like tail swim into the water as he came to consciousness. And someone else, claims that she saw the dragon body surfing in a storm one time. So it's these like depiction. She's always really close to that air-water divide, but it's hard to tell if there's a definite preference for one or the other.
Okay. I asked if they know how deep the sea is around there.
Ooh. Yes. If it is this light blue color, which I will point to here, this light blue shade, the sea is fairly shallow. It's where you hit the dark blue that drops off the continental crust and goes into like the deep sea. So this is somewhere between, 100 and 200 feet deep here, and this gets down quite deep.
So it would go more than 100 feet if I were to go like from here to here, getting to the Misty Valley.
Could maybe just be 100 feet across.
Well, the idea was that I have 100 feet of rope, so I could have somebody walk across the surface while I go underneath, and we could stay buoyed together.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I guess you could just double the amount of rope you have and do that. You might want to double it anyway, because if it had to be taut, then the waves might get pressure.
Yeah.
You want some slack in there.
That's a good point, yeah. Well, because then one could like direct me toward the island, since I probably wouldn't be able to see it underwater.
It's true. Might be difficult to keep your bearing
Yeah,
100 feet below the ocean.
I'm gonna buy another 100 feet of silk rope. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go back to Drekka soon to get more money. All right. Yeah. So I'll get another 100 feet of rope, and I say, tell me, who wants to Does anyone want to go meet a dragon?
Frank throws his hand up in the air instantly. Yes, I want to meet the dragon. A dragon. I've always wanted to meet a dragon. And the two knights are kind of like, we're here to save the world, or to find an honorable death. We would be happy to meet with the dragon if it helps our goals, but,
Sure. Sounds good to me. Frank, do you want to go take the underwater voyage or the
Underwater.
Okay. Let's see here then. I've got 200 feet of rope. The idea I have, I'll walk across the surface. You walk underneath the surface. We stay buoyed together with that rope so I can direct you toward the Misty Valley, and you know which way you're going. And then if you run into the dragon on the way, tug 3 times with it taut. It's like 3 sharp tugs will tell me that you've encountered the dragon, and see if you can direct her to take us to the take you to the surface. You'll be able to breathe underwater, but you won't be able to speak. Your voice won't carry.
And what if I see a shark?
Can you fight a shark? Maybe I should go underwater.
I've never fought a shark before. In fact,
Maybe I should do it.
I don't know how to swim. Is that going to be a problem?
Tell you what, I'll walk underwater. You
Okay.
take the above route.
And
You're gonna
what about sharks on the surface?
jump.
And with that, why don't we go to our second break for the day? We'll see you guys on the other side. Bye, everyone.